guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing some baby names that Eric and I had came up with before we decided on a name. I am wearing comfy clothes today in my natural habitat. I didn't want to be all fancy just because that's not normally what I wear, especially right now that I'm pregnant. Not that I don't get glammed up or anything anymore. It's just that I live in Chicago, so it's already cold here. So obviously, it's not going to be like the girls that live in California that you see them wearing like a little dress and sandals and all that good stuff. And today was my day to go grocery shopping. So I was just wearing some cute joggers, a nice t-shirt, and some gym shoes. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to film this video for you guys because I've been telling you guys that I was going to get to it. And I hadn't. I'm sorry if I'm out of breath, guys. Once again, I am getting closer to 5 weeks. 5 months. You see, I'm going crazy. I'm getting closer to 5 months, so I'm a little bit more out of breath now than I was even before. But yeah, so a lot of you guys are also expecting, and those of you that are expecting, a lot of you guys are also having a little boy and have asked me what names I had, just so you guys can get some ideas. Doesn't necessarily mean that you guys will be choosing a name that I have on my list or anything like that, but I want to be able to help you guys. And then for those of you that do follow me on Instagram, obviously I already revealed to you guys what the name of the baby will be. But for those of you that don't follow me on Instagram or don't have Instagram and just watch me on YouTube, we'll barely be saying the name of the baby that we picked out. And then so yeah, let's get started. So there's no special order that I have these names in. These are just some of the names that Eric and I came up with. The way we came about deciding the name is that I picked certain names and he picked certain names. So I think we each picked about 10 names. However, I think Eric had more on his list than I did because I've always sort of had a list since even before I got pregnant of what I would want to name my kids. I think most girls usually do that. I don't know if it's just me, but I had it in my notes section on my phone. So Eric, on the other hand, had to do his searching up names and all that stuff to kind of figure out what he would like. And I really wanted him to be involved because obviously we both created the baby, so I didn't want to just be like, you know what, no, I'm going to pick the name. And then the good thing is that we both decided we didn't want to do Eric Jr. If you guys don't know, my husband's name's Eric. We didn't want to stick to it being so basic like everyone else. It's always like, if it's your first boy, he's a junior and all that stuff. We wanted to just give a name that was special to us and something that we both decided on. So originally, I wanted the baby to have a middle name, but the name that we ended up picking, nothing flowed with it, so we just decided on a first name. However, it's funny, before I had my reveal, I really thought it was going to be a girl. I don't know. Not that I thought it was going to be a girl. Wrong. Most people were telling me I was going to have a girl. Even though in my heart, I was like, I think I'm having a little boy. I started to think okay, well, maybe I am having a little girl since everybody kept telling me. So I had a name picked out for a little girl. But I don't want to give that name out just because if in the future we have more kids, I still think I'm going to stick to that name. I had picked out a first name and a middle name. So yeah, if I end up having more kids, I will do a video on that. But for now, I'm going to share the names that we had. Like I said, I had 10 names and he had, I think, 15 names. And we kind of went down the list. So I told him my names first. And then he was like, okay, that's a definite no. That's a maybe. And then as we were going down the list, I would take some off. And then my list started to get smaller. Then his list, we did the same. And then it turns out that we both had some names in common, which I thought that wasn't going to happen. But I was happy in the end that we did have names in common because it made it a lot easier. So, like I said, let's just get started because I'm blabbing on too much. But one of the names that Eric had on his list was Saul. I think I didn't have this name on my list, but I had thought about it. I like Saul in English, but I didn't like it in Spanish. Saul. So I was just kind of like, no, you know what? It's too simple. it just sounds so like very basic. It's a very common name. So we were just like, you know what? Let's just take it off our list. So we ended up taking it off of our list. Then the next name we had was Nathan. Just crazy. We both had it on our list also. And I told Eric, I was like, I really like the name. However, there's more people that have it now than before, but that's still one of the names that like stayed on our list. We liked it. We liked how it sounded. We were like, what we would do is that we would say the names out loud to see how it would sound when we would call like our baby, like once he like got older, like stuff like that, just to see how it would sound. So we both like Nathan, right? So like that was left on the maybe list. Then the next name was Christopher. Now that name was a name that was on Eric's list. Like as soon as I found out I was having a boy, like that's what he would call the baby all the time. I think even before we found out what the baby was, he kept saying, it's gonna be little Christopher, little Christopher. I just did not like the name at all. Like, I don't know what it was. I just couldn't see me naming my child that. So I was just like, no, Eric, like you're just gonna have to completely take that name off the list. Like, I don't even like it, not even one bit. So he was stuck on that name for a while. And then we came to terms that if, you know, I didn't like that name at all, there was no ifs and buts about it. But then there was a name that he also was like absolutely not. So it's like I had a name that I really hated on his list, and then he also had a name that he was like absolutely not on my list. No shade to these names if you're named or you have kids with these names, guys. They're just not names that we wanted to pick for the baby. So then the next name was Maximiliano. I really liked that. I felt like it was a very strong name. And I wanted to pick a strong name for the baby, especially because he's a boy. However, I was like, you know what? It's not that I don't like it, but it's just the name is too long. Then for short, everybody's going to call him Max. And Eric's like, Max sounds like a dog's name. So then once Eric started to say that, I was like, yeah, you're right. Max is more like a dog's name. And I'm sure not everybody's going to call him by his full name. So in the end, we ended up taking it off, and then that turned into like an absolute no, right? The next name that we had was Sebastian. We both liked that name. We liked it because it was very, very strong. We're like, oh, for sure, we could call him Sebas. However, we also both know people on our ends that their child's name is Sebastian or Sebastian. And I liked it both. We both liked it in English and in Spanish, and I felt like it was a name that our families were going to be able to pronounce, or like our parents. But in the end, that also made it on the maybe list, and in the end we ended up not picking it out. Next name that we had on here was Nathaniel. Well, that was actually on my list. Eric didn't like it. I'm not sure why. He was just like, no, like he just didn't care for it. He was like, if we're gonna pick Nathaniel, we might as well just pick Nathan instead of Nathaniel. I liked how it sounded in English and in Spanish. And in Spanish is Nathaniel. But he didn't like it. So I was like, okay, that's fine. You know, like no big deal. We'll find a name. So we were like, no. So then he mentioned Andres. And then I was like, it's too simple. I don't even, like in English, it's gonna be Andre, or I don't even know how you would say it in English, to be honest. But I was like, no, like, I just didn't like the name. So that was on his list. We crossed it off. We were like, no. Next name was Leo. I liked Leo, but Eric's like, that name is so short. So it was like, if it was either too long or too short. He didn't like that. So he was like, Leo is so simple. Like, he's like, it's not, I guess it doesn't sound powerful. Like how, for instance, with Maximiliano. So Ultimo, he was like, no. He's like, Leo. He's like, we might as well name him Leonardo. And I didn't like that. I was just like, I just like Leo. But he's like, you know what? People are going to confuse it. And they're going to ask the child all the time, like, is your name Leonardo? So we ended up taking it off. Then the next name that I liked, and I think it's because I've only met 2 people with this name. I'm sure there's a ton of people with this name. But it was Joel. I don't like it so much in Spanish, which is Noel. I like it more in English. But in the end, Eric didn't like it. Didn't care for it. He wasn't like absolutely not about it, but he was like, eh. He felt the same about the name Joel as he did about Saul. So at the end, we were like, no, let's just take it off the list. Then I like the name Ian. That was on my list, and he just made fun of it. He's like, Ian, like, really? Like, that's so simple. Like, Ian, like, he just didn't like how it sounded. I liked it because I like names that are either, it was weird. I wasn't doing it on purpose, but the names that I liked were either really long or like really short. And I was like, no, I guess he doesn't like what we're gonna, even though I like the name Ian, it's not very common. Not a lot of people have it. However, we decided not to. Then the next one we had, and for a while we were like, this is gonna be the baby's name. But then I had someone in my family with that name, and then everybody was saying like it was so common. I think we let a lot of people like influence us with that name, with this name, and like deciding not to pick the name, which was Mateo. I liked it. I liked the meaning behind it. But for some reason, we were like, you know what? Like, everybody's right. I liked it because I was like, we could call him Theo. But then I was like, well, you know, a lot of people have this name. And then so we were kind of iffy. That was on the, like, high up there on our list. But in the end, we ended up crossing it off. And we decided, never mind, we're not going to name the baby that. But I actually do like that name. I think if I were to have another little boy in the future, I think that's still a name that I still like. Just like Nathaniel. Then the next one that I had was Liam. Liam, we liked it, but then I have someone in my family who has that name already. And then Eric just didn't like how it sounded. He didn't care for it. So in the end, we were like, no. It was the same thing like Willie and Liam. He thought they were too short. So we ended up taking it off. And then he also had Tiago, which I had never heard of it, but I heard it's a very popular name right now because not a lot of people have it. It was actually on Eric's list, but I just felt like my child was gonna get made fun of with Tiago, so I was just like, no, like absolutely not. It's not a terrible name, but I didn't care for it. The next two names that we both had on our list were Noah and Noel. These two names we both liked, and they were on our list, like high up there with Mateo. And so it was like Mateo, Noah, Noel. Excuse me. And we both like these names. However, I don't know if you guys know, for those of you that listen to like Spanish songs or have heard this song in the past, where it's like there's this song that's like Noah, 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 Noah. So after I said that, like I couldn't get that song out of my head, and I felt like every time I called my kid Noah, that song was gonna pop into my head. So I told Eric, never mind, like he's like, really? Because he liked how it sounded, and then I was just like, I know, but the song is gonna pop into my head. So we just ended up taking it off our list. Noel, I don't know why we didn't decide on Noel. We liked it, but I don't know. We ended up deciding not to go with that name. But actually I don't have anything against it. I think between Noel and Joel, we probably would have picked Noel just because Noel is not so common. And then the other name we both had on our list. I hope these names are really helping you guys, and I hope you guys are like, oh my god, like it's just a list and like there's so many names. I'm just trying to help you guys get ideas on what you might want to name your child. But the next name that we had was Mason. Mason, I don't know anyone by the name of Mason. Eric didn't either. So that actually made it to like our top 5. And I don't know. We would say it and we were like, okay, we like it. But then in Spanish, Eric was like, how do you say that name in Spanish? And then he was like, you know, they're going to make fun of him and they're going to be like Mason, like the Mason jar. It was just like, I don't know. So we ended up not picking it, but it was on our list, on our like top 5. And then Ethan was another one that we ended up liking a lot. So finally, I'm gonna tell you the last names that were on our list, so that where we narrowed it down. So it was funny because this name I had on my list, and I never thought Eric was gonna ever have this name on his list. Just because like we were more like comparing our list. We didn't have so many that we had in common, but when we did, they were like names that we both really liked, which was a good thing. But the name Aiden was a name that I was like, I don't think Eric's gonna like this, so I'm not even gonna mention it to him or whatever. And then I saw that he had it, and I was like, dude, I have that name on my list, but I wasn't gonna tell you. He's like, you're such a liar, let me see. And then I showed him my list. He said, so why weren't you gonna say it? I'm like, because I didn't think it was gonna be a name that you liked. So the last names that we came down to was the name Mateo. We had Nathan, Mason, Ethan, and Aiden. Okay, so they kind of all sound like, you know, Ethan and Nathan, kind of close. And then we had Mateo, Mason, and then Aiden. So these are all names that I just never thought we were actually gonna end up having in common. I don't know what it was. But we started to narrow it down, right? So like I said, we started saying it out loud, and then I just started saying it to my belly to see like if it was something that would flow and that I could see myself calling our baby. So then after those 5, we narrowed it down. We ended up taking Mateo off, like I said, because Eric's like, you know what, it's just too common. So then the last 4 were Aiden, Nathan, Mason, and Ethan. And then we ended up taking off Ethan because Eric was like, well, my name starts with the letter E. Let's give the baby something more unique so that his name doesn't start with the letter E, which is, I know it's really weird, but okay. I was like, that's fine. No problem. I was just happy that we had names that we actually agreed on, that I was just like, that's fine. So then the last 3 names were Aiden, Nathan, and Mason. So Mason, he was just still kind of like, I don't want my child to get made fun of. Then another thing is that we started to look up the meaning of these 3 names just to see, and I can't even remember what each of them mean. I think Aiden is something with fire, like I can't remember. I'm not sure. I have mommy brain right now, honestly. But Mason, the meaning was weird, so we ended up taking it off. So it came down to Aiden and Nathan, and we were like, okay, like. And I told Eric, you know what? I'll give you the last pick. You decide. And he was like, no, you decide. So we're back and forth, and then we both looked at each other, and we were like, you know what? Let's name the baby Aiden. So it was great, guys. Like, we literally decided, like, we felt it in our hearts that was like the perfect name. And yeah, it was so simple. I thought it was gonna be harder to pick up to like decide a name. I'm not sure why. I guess because we had already decided on a name for a little girl, like I said. But for little girls, there's a lot more. Well, no, I can't say there's more names for girls because I did have a long list for little boys. But I don't know. I was just like, oh my God, it's going to be a mission to find a name. And then I had told Eric, if we can't find a name that we can both agree on, then we're just going to name him Eric Jr. because I don't want to, like, go back and forth or end up saying, like, you picked the name and, like, whatever. So then Eric was like, no, I still don't want to name him Eric Jr. So it was great. So we ended up picking the name Aiden. And that's all, guys. That's the name that we ended up choosing. Obviously the baby's gonna have his father's last name. But that is all for today, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and that you guys that this video was helpful for those of you that are having a little boy. And if you're having a little girl, also that's great news. There's a lot of pretty names for little girls also. And that's all for today, guys. I will see you guys in my next video. I think for my next video, what I wanted to do was probably do a video on like 6 to 10 symptoms of like pregnancy that you don't expect and you learn as you go, or like people don't like really talk about, just so that you guys that are barely finding out that you're pregnant, you can like see that, you know, these type of symptoms are common, and so that you don't like freak out. Like when I first time I was pregnant, I was freaking out, asking a lot of questions and all that good stuff. But yeah, that'll be all for today, guys. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.